All kids out the pool. All kids out the pool. It's time for CBM Productions. All kids out.
What is up, everyone? I am CBM Productions, and I'm a little frustrated today, people. I'm a little agitated, and there's just something that's been itching on my back for the past few months that I just really wanted to talk about. Now, I did a video about the state of the DCEU about a month ago, and I kind of discussed, my thoughts on the ever-changing DC universe and how Peter Safran and James Gunn were taking over DC Studios, and my overall thoughts on the situation. And if you want to get more in-depth thoughts on the actual logistics on the DC universe building, what I thought would be the best course of action for the new DC universe with these two heads of the lead, you can check that video out. I'll probably put a link above it in the description or whatever. It's kind of like a part 2 to this video, but one that I think a lot of people need to hear. See, recently, and I mean, it hasn't been super recent, it's been happening ever since James Gunn and Peter Safran were hired, essentially, but I've seen so much harassment and so much vitriol on the internet, especially towards James Gunn, who has been very active in trying to debunk rumors and try to be open as much as he can to audience members regarding their worries and pushbacks on their new DC universe, and I respect that. James Gunn has a lot on his shoulders, not only with this bill, so he's wrapping up Guardians of the Galaxy 3 in post-production. The guy is busy, he has a lot on his shoulders, and the fact that he's, answering a lot of people's questions on Twitter is a really generous thing. But it seems like every single post I see of James Gunn's, whether it's Instagram, Twitter, whatever social media he uses, there are always people in this comment sections just raging against him about the decisions that they have made behind the scenes and rumor speculation that people are taking as fact, and just a lot of things that have pissed me off. And I just kind of want to air out for today, just because I'm sick and tired of the harassment against James Gunn. A lot of it for just complete misbelief and complete rumors and gossip, to decisions that I think, although are unpopular, are necessary for this new DC universe to, be born out of. There are specific layers I do want to discuss over the course of this video, and also this is very unscripted, so it might be a little messy over the course of this video, but I just really want to discuss this. So there are several things I want to talk about, so I'm not going to waste much more time, and let's just get into the meat of the video. Oh yeah, do you like my Jenna Ortega chair? Don't ask me why I have it, it's just fucking here. Anyways, let's just get into the video. Now, the biggest point of contention between James Gunn right now on Twitter that a lot of people seem to hate him against and try to, pit against him is the whole decision between him and Peter Safran, and I guess David Zaslav to a certain extent, to fire Henry Cavill, in quotation marks, essentially just not let him continue the role of Superman in the current state of the DCEU, despite Henry Cavill not only a couple months ago just announcing that he would come back to the role after Black Adam released. And even before then, people were petitioning for years for a Man of Steel sequel and for him to actually come back and don the cape once again after the whole drama between Justice League happened, and basically Walter Hamada and all the people at DC at the time basically just doing all they can to remove themselves from the Zack Snyder era of the DC universe, and that basically means just kind of wiping the slate clean of anybody that was associated with them, minus a couple of people like Gal Gadot and Jason Momoa. Before I really dive into this section of the video, I do want to say this is not Henry Cavill's fault, and I honestly feel terrible for the guy, for somebody who literally left his other biggest role in his career so far with The Witcher to do Superman. After only filming a couple of cameos, one of them's going to come for The Flash, that he was promised a brand new slate of DC movies that him and like Black Adam or whatever was going to, shepherd this new era of Superman for him, and for all that just be taken away. I can't imagine as an actor who's wanted to play this character for years and finally being able to resurgence this character. I feel terrible for the guy. So, above anything else, I do feel horrible for Henry Cavill, but I wish him the best in his acting career in the future, especially with that new Warhammer series that he's, apparently starring in for Amazon Prime. I wish the best for him. Now, if you saw the previous DC video, you know that my personal choice, if I was head of DC, what I would do is essentially let everything reboot itself after the Flash movie. I mean, it's already shot and in production, and that movie was always meant to reboot whatever they wanted to do with the DCU going forward. Reboot whatever you wanted to, leave it behind and keep all that baggage at the door, and then just keep what worked. Keep Gal Gadot, keep Jason Momoa, but if you want to reboot Ben Affleck, you can. I feel like, whatever you want to do with DC post these movies coming out in 2023, you can use The Flash as a scapegoat just to do whatever you want going forward. So the decision to completely reboot everything is a little bit strange to me, in my opinion. But at the same time, I completely respect James Gunn and Peter Safran to just be like, we don't want any baggage. We don't want to keep anything from the previous universe, even the stuff that we created. And to, completely just wipe the slate clean, do a brand new universe from the ground up, and just make our own story original from the ground up. I respect that approach. You can say I started this universe all by myself and I create this whole little bubble universe. I mean, Zack Snyder tried doing that with his own version of the Justice League trilogy that he had built up. You know, we had several other different little pockets. I mean, The Rock wanted to have his own share of the DC universe, and he wanted to run it himself. And, you know, it's just a giant mess. But the decision to fire Henry Cavill, I understand if you want to reboot everything, is a necessary option. He was just hired at the wrong time. He was sadly a victim of circumstance, and it sucks, but I completely understand why they decided to let him go. And here's the whole thing. I wouldn't blame James Gunn the firing of Henry Cavill. I would blame Warner Brothers. The previous regime that held over DC was a complete clusterfuck, to say the least. I mean, sincerely, if Warner Brothers had handled DC properly up until this point, we would not be in the situation right now where Warner Brothers' new heads will have to reshape the entire universe and bring in brand new creative heads to completely fix up the gigantic mess that was DC up until this point. Sure, we got some great movies out of it, but look at the past decade with the DC movies. We had Man of Steel that was not even meant to start a DC universe, that was just meant to be a Christopher Nolan-esque Superman movie in the vein of the Dark Knight trilogy to prop up that success. And that's what its main purpose was, to prop up Superman the same way that Christopher Nolan did with Batman. And then haphazardly, it was kind of forced into a cinematic universe where Zack Snyder in the second movie had to not only make a Batman vs. Superman movie, introduce Batman, continue on Superman's story, but also sub the Justice League for a third movie, which after the critical and financial failure of BVS, Warner Bros. Got scared, they had doubts, they got cold feet, and kind of forced Zack Snyder out of his own movie and out of his own trilogy, despite the fact that he was given the keys to the franchise prior. Which, I mean, should have never had happened. But I'm sorry, like, you shouldn't stray the path when you're in your final stage of this Justice League, arc, and then you have the Justice League theatrical cut, which was a gigantic mangled mess behind the scenes and in front of the camera, and it was a colossal disaster both financially and critically for Warner Brothers. And so then you had Walter Hamada come in and all these different people from DC to basically kind of wipe the floor clean with Zack Snyder, and then just do a bunch of solo movies. Whatever they want to do. If you want to make a Joker movie standalone, do whatever you want to do. If you want to make a Batman standalone movie, you can do whatever you want to do. And then just look at the DC universe as is for the past decade. I mean, there's just so many pocket universes within its own little cinematic universe. You have the Batman and Joker, who are in their own separate franchises that don't tie into each other. You have two Shazam movies and a Black Adam movie, neither of which tie into one another that much, despite the fact they're in the same universe. You have Suicide Squad and Peacemaker, which is in their own little shared universe. It's just a gigantic mess. Like, there's no cohesive stuff. Yes, we got some great movies out of it, of course, but that doesn't mean that the entire lack of planning between these DC movies was completely at fault of Warner Brothers regime that just did not care about these characters. I mean, the fact that the majority of the DC heroes you see in the opening intro of the movie, like Green Lantern, had no presence in the actual DC universe as is so far. Cyborg, after the whole Ray Fisher drama, he was completely dropped from the entire franchise. It took us God knows how long to get a Flash movie finally. Ben Affleck never got a solo movie. Superman never got a solo movie past Man of Steel. But yet we got movies based on Blue Beetle and Shazam and a Harley Quinn, Guy Ritchie knockoff style movie. Just so many just random ass shots. And although yes, it's interesting to look at it and I do respect the risk in some form, there was just no respect to the actual DC heroes that were on screen. I mean, looking at the overall state of the DCEU, out of like the 12 or so movies that were released theatrically over the past decade, only 2 were runaway successes, both critically and financially, and that was Wonder Woman, the first one, and Aquaman. Every other movie either performed well but was critically panned, like Suicide Squad, the first one, well received by fans and critics but didn't do that well, like Shazam or the Suicide Squad, James Gunn's version. I mean, hell, a good chunk of them were just straight to streaming, like Zack Snyder's Justice League or Wonder Woman 84, and then Peacemaker, that's a HBO Max series, so that doesn't even count. I'm saying Black Adam bombed as well, even though Dwayne Johnson wants to make you believe that it actually made money back. I mean, the Warner Bros. Regime at the time actually respected Henry Cavill and Ben Affleck and all these heroes and actually wanted to properly set them up as heroes and not just force everything into like a 4-year plan to set up a Justice League movie to catch up with Marvel. We would have had an amazing tenure for both Ben Affleck and Henry Cavill as Superman and Batman. But instead, Ben Affleck kind of just got eroded into the dust, and then Henry Cavill just got played back and forth of what he wanted to do, if he was going to come back or not. And then when he finally got to come back, after one cameo, he's gone. Probably until Crisis on Infinite Earths. And that sucks for him, but you shouldn't blame James Gunn for this. He is not the person that was behind the decisions making at the time. He was not the person that greenlit BVS and Justice League and all these different movies in this specific type of plan. And so it pisses me off whenever I just see any sort of James Gunn post underneath his comment section, especially on Instagram and Twitter, and all of it's just like, you're such a crappy director, you're such a clown, why did you fire Henry Cavill, take the L, James Gunn. And it's just like, it's not his fault. Blame Warner Brothers for not treating him properly. The fact they have to come in and actually restructure his entire universe proves to you how muddled this entire universe is. And honestly, I don't think it would have been as bad had Warner Bros. Not let Henry Cavill shoot a cameo for Black Adam and The Flash. The fact that he got dropped right back in, confirmed. I mean, it wasn't even a secret. He literally spoiled the cameo in interviews and talking about his whole 5-year plan or 5-movie plan to build up Black Adam and Superman. And Dwayne Johnson desperately wanting to have this character be the new center focal point of the DCEU. Even bringing in like Amanda Waller and, characters from Peacemaker and bringing in Henry Cavill in the Justice League. And it's just like, he wanted to make this character the new focal point of the DC Universe to the point where he decided to bring down anyone with him. I mean, the tragic thing about it, had Black Adam been a more standalone movie like the other DC movies prior, there would have been a good chance, in my opinion, or at least a lot higher of a chance that Black Adam could have survived the whole DC wave and could have been like retroactively fit into this new DC universe. That what seems like Blue Beetles would go through, where it's just like, if you cut out all the references, you could honestly fit in this new DC timeline and actually continue on this character. But because Dwayne Johnson wanted to have that whole fan hype around him being like, I'm the guy that brought back Henry Cavill, he brought back Henry for no reason, disappointed him, and now his franchise is completely dead. And the movie didn't even make his box office back. But I will always respect you, Dwayne, for letting me walk in the red carpet premiere. Respect. I'm just sick and tired of people blaming James Gunn for this decision that was always going to happen for years. Unfortunately, he was just the guy that had to make the hard decision. And that's why I respect for James Gunn and Peter Safran both. They are making the hard decision to cut off a lot of franchises, which I personally don't agree with, but I completely understand for their point of contention for the new DC universe that they want to do it. Also, most of this stuff we don't even fully know yet. We don't even know what the full DC plan is yet, at least as the time of recording this. So it's not even like I know what's going to happen. I'm not in the rooms at Warner Brothers and DC Studios with these two. And the fact that a lot of people are running these rumors as facts is really, really dumb in my opinion. Another big point of contention for fans that a lot of people are like pitting up against James Gunn, especially against the Henry Cavill firing, is a rumor that came out around Variety, I think, or Hollywood Reporter a couple days ago, regarding the fact that some of the Warner Bros. Executives right now are open to the possibility of seeing Ezra Miller back as a Flash after his solo movie comes out in a few months. And a lot of people are taking this as facts, and a lot of people are once again throwing down James Gunn in the comment section, being like, why are you keeping Ezra Miller and firing Henry Cavill, blah, 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 blah. Guys, they're not coming back. A lot of people are like, oh no, they actually confirmed it in Variety. Here's the truth. The Flash movie is still coming out in a few months. You really think that Warner Bros. Would officially say, hey, listen, we're recasting The Flash to Dylan O'Brien or whatever before the Ezra Miller Flash movie comes out? I mean, mind you, a lot of people like you and me know about all this stuff and knows the fact that basically all the DC movies coming out this year are basically kind of like dead weights. And they don't really mean much in the future. It's kind of like back when Disney bought Fox and we still got X-Men movies like Dark Phoenix and New Mutants. Like, we all know that all these movies are heading nowhere. But a lot of the audience members, general audience members that aren't in the whole movie news scope that we are, they probably don't know all this DC drama. They probably don't even know that James Gunn took over DC. So why would you officially announce as a studio to be like, yeah, don't watch our movie. Don't watch the Flash movie because we're going to reboot everything anyways. The movie costs like, what, $100-200 million? No way they're going to announce a new Flash movie or a new Flash actor before this movie comes out. Like, sure, they're going to announce a new Flash movie. I bet they're going to announce Sorry, I can't speak today. I bet they are going to announce a new Flash actor by the end of this year, but they're not going to do it before June 16th. I will bet you. So why are you going to act like this is fact? This is clearly not the fact. Why would any executive risk another $200 million movie on Ezra Miller? I'm sorry. There's no way in hell that any executive is going to risk another $100 million, $200 million movie on their name. That's just not going to happen. But at the same time, you can't announce there's going to be a new Flash movie before the old Flash movie comes out. So the fact that people are just listening to fake news and just drawing James Gunn out on this is just absolutely infuriating in my opinion. This might be a short video, but honestly, I just want to get my thoughts out on this just because James Gunn just doesn't deserve this. He's been through so much the past few years in Hollywood, from being fired from Disney and blacklisted almost, to having to come back from DC and doing Suicide Squad, to finally coming back and doing Guardians 3. It's an absolute mess, and honestly, I just really do wish the best for him in his future, and I think people are just impatient. People need to realize that this DC universe is going to take some time to build up again. The DC brand is a joke. The fact that there are so many different Batmans and Supermans, and the fact there's no real cohesive in the DC brand right now, the fact that these people need to come back and have to restructure everything together is absolutely infuriating. Blame whatever happens on this decision making right now on the old Warner Bros. Regime. Now, whatever happens with the new DC universe regarding the movies and the shows and the quality, you can blame the creatives and whatever James Gunn and Peter Safran make. But all these old decisions from the old regime, honestly, it's just they're just cleaning up the mess. It's not their fault that Henry Cavill was given such a shit tenure as Superman. And I bet the whole Black Adam cameo was just a giant middle finger as Walter Hamada was walking out the door. And it's just incredibly infuriating that people are just kind of roasting James Gunn at whatever cost without giving the guy a solid chance. We haven't had even one installment in this new DC universe. We don't even know what the plan is. And people are just quick to jump and be so negative on him. James Gunn, if you're watching this video, I have complete faith in you that you're going to do some great stuff. You've done nothing but really good movies your entire career, even the trauma stuff. So I do completely believe in you and Peter Safran that you're going to take care of these characters and actually give them the respect that they actually deserve. The DCEU as is over the past decade has given us some really fun movies and some great casting. I will always cherish a lot of the movies in this universe and the fact that we got movies like the Matt Reeves Batman universe and we're getting Todd Phillips' Joker. And a lot of stuff that came out over this giant mess is great to see, in my opinion. I sincerely do believe that. I want to see the heroes in this DC universe be treated with actual respect and actual care, and actually have it build up to something rather than just haphazardly just throwing stuff together in little pieces in their own little side pocket universes. It's time for DC to shine and actually be a giant competitor against Marvel and actually have some weight behind its name. That isn't just like little solo movies. But anyways, those are just my thoughts. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'm going to head out now. So make sure you brush your teeth, shower, go to bed, and yeah, I'm done. Peace out.